make a quick buck.
And Hollywood
coming in and
just not letting it go until
because it's a good
last year or whatever the last movie came out.
Yeah, because it's a good ghost story. It's a good demon story, especially after you have to think about the time it came out. It was right after The Exorcist in 1974.
Mm-hmm.
The Exorcist was a big hit. You have people going through a satanic panic, which we'll get to throughout this season, Weekend Weird, which will probably be our next episode.
Okay.
Dealing with a story during the satanic panic. People want to go to the movies. It's a rebirth of Hollywood. It's the start of the modern Hollywood blockbuster. Because you have Jaws in 75, Star Wars in 77, Alien in 79, also the year of the Amityville Horror. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an intriguing story, but it's not true. It's just a fictional story.
Yeah, like I said, until you came over and we decided to do this podcast, I had no idea it was considered to be a hoax. I just knew the story from the film. I never saw the 1979 film. I only saw the 2005 film with Ryan Gosling, and yeah, I didn't know it was a hoax. I didn't know there was so much claims against it.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that is the Amityville hoax. This is horror, murders. This is all of it. You judge for yourself if you think it's real or not. But from our estimation,
nah.
Good story though. Good story.
No, good story, and it sounds like Hollywood's still going to continue to make films about it.
Yeah. I mean, especially if we have more of the Conjuring universe coming out there.
Okay.
After whatever we get back to films we released in theaters. Whenever we get back to that normal. But, yeah.
Okay. That about does it?
Yeah, that about does it. Just got some housekeeping issues and a couple of important messages just come up. We'll be not doing our duty if we didn't comment on what's going on right now. Murders of African Americans by the police brutality, rampant protests going around the nation, around the world even. We're in a time where we're scared and we're also fed up and angry. And you had said it best, Ogul, when we talked about this when it first happened. This is a perfect tornado of shit just happening. Us just standing in the house, going for this pandemic that never should have got to the point that it is now, but because of the current leadership of this country, who really doesn't give a goddamn about anything other than themselves. People who follow this moron, this mass murderer, blindly, like they're the Church of Scientology or some other cult. That over 100,000 people in this country have died from a pandemic that never should have got to this point.
Yeah, I think last week New Zealand officially came out and claimed that they had no new cases of the coronavirus.
They had no new cases in 3 weeks.
I mean, I understand New Zealand is a much, much smaller country than we are, but they're not the only example around the world.
Yeah.
So to say that the U.S. botched the response to COVID is an understatement. That, people being stuck inside for 3 months, unemployment at its highest rate since the Great Depression, a country feeling high levels of anxiety in an election year where some people think that either the election is going to be screwed with and or, this orange Cheeto is not going to want to leave the White House. Like, there's a lot of anxiety going on in the country right now. And, the murder of George Floyd was just the spark that sort of lit the dry kindling. And people are out on the streets. And honestly, I'm not even gonna address the the looting and the rioting that happened in the first week of all this, because that's just juice for the news and network news. It's the the crime sells thing. Mm-hmm. The real story is that the country is speaking on the streets. There's a unified voice. There's real call for change. And I'm a pragmatic person, Nick, you know it.
Yeah.
To me, this time, these protests feel different. Mm-hmm. So through the trauma and the tragedy, I think there's an ultimate silver lining that's being written in front of our eyes, which is that, a voice has been given to a movement that's been sideline. If you go back and watch interviews with Colin Kaepernick from 2016 and 17, when everybody but BLM was against him, it's kind of eerie how correct he was in the things he was saying 3-4 years ago. And I watched interviews with him recently from back then, just to see what he had to say 3-4 years ago. And I don't know if there's anybody else in the country who feels more validated as much as Colin Kaepernick does right now. I don't know if that makes him feel good, but
no, it doesn't.
It is validation nevertheless. I feel like in 2016, the Black Lives Matter movement made a lot of noise. I don't know if people were listening. I feel like this time around people are listening. It's been almost 3 weeks since George Floyd's murder, and just today, a couple hours ago, there was a massive protest down the street from where I live. In fact, I called you and said you might want to take a different route because it's tough to get to my house.
Yeah.
And there's no looting or rioting going on right now. It's people out on the streets voicing their opinions, concerns. And I feel like, I don't know, I feel like there's a shift happening in the country right now. I mean, just, dude, like, it might seem trivial to some, especially people not living in this country, but the fact that NASCAR came out and said they're banning the Confederate flag from all of their races, and I mean, again, that might seem trivial to some. Who cares about NASCAR? A lot of people do in this country. It's like one of the biggest live sporting events in the country. And, for an organization like NASCAR coming out and supporting this call for the country to reckon with its history, it says a lot, knowing that they're going to piss off a lot of their fans, and they're just like, you know what? Go watch something else if you don't like us.
Yeah, just to placate, NASCAR has always wanted, the owners of NASCAR always wanted to do that. They always wanted to get rid of the Confederate flag and the connotation that this is a quote unquote redneck sport. They want to be a more global sport.
Sure.
They want to attract more people of diverse ethnic backgrounds watching their sport and participating in their sport. This was just a reason for them to finally go ahead and say, we're going to do this. Do I applaud them? No, but there's something they always wanted to do.
Yeah, and I don't want to sound so...
I hate to sound cynical, but that's how it is.
On the same note, Nick, I don't want to sound naive to say that, like, their intentions were completely wholesome and altruistic and all that. Obviously, there's business decisions being made by a lot of these corporations and organizations.
Yeah.
But at least it's being made.
Yeah.
You know, you don't want to hinder progress just because it's coming from voices that didn't historically align with what we want this country to become one day.
Mm-hmm.
Take allies where you can, is what I say.
Right.
And I don't know. I just, again, going back, I'm just going to repeat myself again. This time just feels different. This time feels different. You got police chiefs, sheriffs, deputies all around the country speaking out against it. Not just Black Lives Matter, not just systemic racism, but just police brutality. And, you know, progress happens by inches. And I feel like in the last couple of weeks, the country has ran a couple of yards.
Yeah, I mean...
Correct me if I'm wrong.
It's still some of the same shit. I mean, you still see some of these white supremacists, Trump supporters, not their last gasp, but making gas, trying to defend their whatever fucking way of life they want to choose to be. Police still attacking innocent protesters out there fighting for their lives. There is a symbiotic change because a lot of people are jumping on and saying, "Hey, this is wrong. This is enough is enough. We're sick of this." Trying to be on the right side, and especially for it's been happening for years and years and years and years and years. It's not just starting up just because of George Floyd being murdered, but years and years and years and years. Talking about Rakia Boyd, LaQuan McDonald, so many goddamn names. I can't remember them all.
Yeah.
Names from the 80s and 70s, you know, and enough is a fucking enough. And I'm sick of it. You know, you can't go out. You want to go out and be a productive citizen and be left alone and not have to worry about if some cop is going to pull me over. Is this going to be the last moments of my life? You get sick of it. And we're out here fighting for what is right in our lives. And these cops or which really we're questioning their authority. Yeah, we're questioning their authority. You work for us. Supposedly. You're supposed to work for us, but no, you work for higher ups. You work for bosses. And you want to keep the status quo. But the status quo sucks. And it's killing us. And I'm sick of the status quo. And I'm tired of it. Fuck the status quo. Fuck your authority. You don't like it, quit. I'm a truck driver by trade. That's why this show is not on every week by week, like other podcasts. Because I have a regular job. My job is a truck driver. That's what I do. That's my trade. Mm-hmm. And the training that I have to go through to become a truck driver and the diligence that I have to be a truck driver, because if I fuck up, that's someone's life out on the road, or that's my life, or both. And yet you have these cops that go around shooting people unprovocated. Like this was shot, like just Saturday in Atlanta, Rashad Brooks murdered in the parking lot of a Wendy's because he was sleeping in his car.
Yeah, I mean...
You shouldn't have to be murdered. They're just sleeping in his car, and these assholes or social media, well, he was a criminal. Fuck you. No, you're the criminal. You're the fucking criminal.
If I may interject for a second here, I completely dispel this notion where the narrative, anytime an unlawful killing like this happens, mm-hmm. It's always police murdered so-and-so because blank. Mm-hmm. if that because doesn't follow with he fired back at the police
and killed a police officer,
or he was threatening the lives of others, who cares what the story was?
Mm-hmm.